Festival 2025.
Taste the heart of your heritage with mouth-watering dishes from across the country like Ademe with Akple, Sozafi with Ayoyo soup, Kokonte, Apopranta, Rare Quine, and many more. From rich spices to sweet treats, it's a journey for your senses. We're taking you back to your village.
Oh yes, let's recreate our age-old recipes.
But it's not just about food, you know. We're celebrating culture, connecting with family, and making memories that last a lifetime.
This March, let's come together and discover the flavors that make us who we are. The date is 29th and 30th of March 2025. The venue, Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and the time is 10 a.m. through to 6 p.m. each day.
The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025, where food, fun, and tradition meet. See you there.
Interested vendors should call 0558-973-973 or 0205-973-973 to register. The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by Gino and Core Natural Cocoa Fruit Juice.
Let's get into the world of sports like never before.
You know how we do it on Fridays.
Join us every Friday at 7 p.m. on 97.3 City FM for Sports Panorama, your ultimate destination for all things sports.
One of the biggest scandals in this country's history. You can't spend 250 million USD and come out with that.
From the thrill of association football to the excitement of basketball, tennis, athletics, and even emerging sports, we cover it all. Whether it's the Premier League or the latest NBA showdown, we bring you the stories behind the stars.
Getting an opportunity to become a national team coach, he should understand the politics around football.
And don't miss the prayer of the rabbi.
Joe was Zebaut. How Zebaut there? Zebaut won Chaboke.
We're not just about the games, we're about the community.
If you are going to be given this kind of treatment, then you need to be that guy. When I look at him play, he is not it.
Or when it's time for Don't Call Me. Join the conversation as we connect with fans across the country and beyond. Want the latest updates? Send us your thoughts and we'll feature your comments live on air. And remember, we like to hear your predictions for matches and your thoughts in general. Think you know who's going to win? Let us know.
Big shout outs to my YouTube people.
Tune in every Friday at 7 p.m. only on 97.3 City FM. Sports Panorama, where sports come alive. Amen. Sports Panorama, your weekly sports fix. Don't miss out on the action. Sports Panorama. Catch the excitement every Friday.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show here on Channel 1 Television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, we get the right guests, and ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We're live tonight with the man of the moment. He presented a budget which he did not give a nickname to. This is the first budget in a long time that has not been given any nickname. But the man is going to talk to us about the state of the Ghanaian economy, why he chose the approach he chose for the budget. And we'll also take your questions for the MP for Ejumako Enyanisiam, and of course, Minister of Finance, KCL Ato Forson, when we come back.
Fire pomudi ni agobio Ghana fueni age efri say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me de go me jollof mu ni mi still ahodoma e ma ne dance
Stanley the barbecue the go on
sankofa natural spice and one you use 100% natural.
Adofo, mamunye huge mistake. Sankofa natural spices.
After a long flight, Safari Homes gives you the peace to unwind. A short drive from the airport, convenient for all. For nature lovers, Safari Valley Resort is a hidden gem, surrounded by lush greenery and luxury amenities. A place where you can truly escape. Now, for water adventure, Aqua Safari Resort has it all. Jet skis, canoe rides, kayaking, and a visit to the estuary. And for more excitement, Safari Eco Park is the perfect place to get closer to some amazing animals.
Visit Safari World in Ghana, together bringing you closer to nature.
So welcome back. Tonight we're live with the Minister for Finance, KCL Ato Forson. Is it KCL or KCL?
KCL.
KCL. What does it mean?
It's a biblical name.
Oh, really?
Yes, angelic.
Oh, I didn't know. Which part of the Bible?
KCL is an archangel.
Hey, I thought there was only Michael and...
No, it's an archangel.
Oh, so there's Angel KCL.
Angel KCL, responsible for Saturdays.
Who gave you that name?
My mother.
Oh, wow. But Ato means you were born on Saturday.
Ato was born on Saturday.
I see.
It goes with my first name.
Amazing. So when you entered Parliament in 2009, did you know you would become Minister of Finance one day?
Oh, certainly no. But we kept pushing. It's a matter of destiny.
Wow.
And it's destiny that has brought me this far.
What's your relationship with Professor Mills?
Professor Mills, you know, is also from my constituency.
I thought it was your neighboring constituency, Kumfi.
No, Samens will tell you that Professor Mills comes from Enyandinchra and
oh,
also
really?
Ekumfi, yes.
Oh, okay.
So he comes from both Ekumfi and Ejumako Enyanesiam.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So when you came down to be MP, he knew about it?
Yes.
And he encouraged you?
I mean, Professor Mills inspired all of us to join politics.
Wow. He will be very proud to see you as Minister of Finance.
Thanks.
Yeah. But you seem to have taken the work in your stride. At the Economic Forum, you looked very relaxed. And you read, 45 slides. You did it very... Is it that you've always been waiting for this moment? Because it's almost the biggest position after President and Vice. But you didn't look fazed by it.
I think over the years, I've been prepared for this day. Working first as a member of the Finance Committee from 2009 to 2013.
Okay.
And then I was nominated as a Deputy Minister of Finance from 2013 to 2016. Then we lost election and I went to Parliament and I became the ranking member of the Finance Committee from 2017 to 2023. And I became minority leader from 2022 to 2025.
So it's always been finance for you?
It has always been finance. I've been working very close on issues of finance and economy in the last 16, 17 years. And I've seen both sides of it. I've seen times when I was a backbencher and a member of the Finance Committee as a floor member. I've seen it when I was a deputy minister. I've seen from the other side of it when I used to be the ranking member or the shadow finance minister for 7 years. And when I was elevated to become the minority leader I still stayed on the finance committee. So this is something that I'm very used to.
When you were made minority leader, the chairman of the party said the 2024 election was an economic election. And he believed that because you were leading the economic effort, it would be good to put the economy at the front and center. So that was correct. The main, in your view, the 2024 election was about the economy.
It was. It was about the economy. And the results reflect it. And the Afrobarometer report and other research that we have done internally pointed to the fact that the people of Ghana were indeed fed up with the state of the Ghanaian economy. We felt at a point that things were improving, only for us to get in and notice the magnitude. But I had always maintained that the government of the day at the time had failed to paint the true state of the Ghanaian economy. And that if you look at the transmissions of some of the economic policies, it doesn't reflect an economy that has turned the corner. And I'd always said also that the political class were failing at that time to tell the citizens the magnitude of the economic problem that we face. And clearly, we were not getting the right prescriptions to take us out of the mess. No wonder we are seeing what we are seeing. But as we've said, that is what we inherited. And we have a responsibility.
We'll get into that shortly. But yes, if the economy was the number one issue, it also means that that's the issue that will determine whether President Mahama is considered a success or failure.
Exactly.
So in a sense, you have the most difficult job of all your colleagues.
I agree. And I commit to support the president to do just that.
So are you talking about the economy being worse than you thought because you want to manage expectations?
I'm saying this based on the numbers that we've seen. Numbers doesn't lie. 1 + 1 is 2. Is what we inherited. If I'd gone to the ministry and had inherited a very good economy, numbers will point to the fact that the economy that we inherited happens to be good. I can't cook those numbers. And so I'm not the one saying it, but evidence available at the Ministry of Finance point to the fact that the state of the Ghanaian economy is there, and we may have to take hard decisions this year to avert a possible second wave in the medium term.
So are you saying
that's what we are trying to do? What
you saw in the ministry was worse than what you were painting in opposition?
Exactly.
But that's serious, because in opposition you thought the economy was really, really bad.
Yes, because in opposition we were not having the full facts. And we were using data that were submitted to Parliament and some research from the Ministry of Finance's website and Bank of Ghana's website. We were not able to have the full complement of the information. We weren't aware of the state of, of the economy in terms of the amount of contracts they have awarded, the amount of IPCs that were waiting to be paid, the amount of money waiting at the controller to be paid, the state of the entire SOEs and all. We were not aware of it. But now that we've got
in Parliament, I thought these things Parliament had to know. So if I ask you to give me 2 or 3 areas that you found things worse than you believed, what would they be?
Okay, so let me start from the fiscal situation. Ghana was in an IMF program, or we are still in an IMF program. The IMF program has imposed certain conditionalities and certain structural benchmarks, as well as key quantitative performance criteria. These QPCs were the anchor of the program. The main anchor of the IMF program has to do with primary balance on commitment basis. Simple put, your debt at the time wasn't sustainable. And so the best way for you to bring your debt to sustainable levels is for you to do corporate stuff. The first was to do debt restructuring. And the debt restructuring was structured in such a way that the average bondholder was going to accept a haircut. And so you could see that the adjustment was actually coming from debt haircut. And then some taxes were imposed with a view that the primary balance was going to move from a deficit to a surplus. The year 2024, we were told, and Parliament approved, and the government committed to IMF to do a primary surplus of 0.5% of GDP. Simple put, they were not going to borrow to service the debt, because the primary balance, simple, is the main anchor for debt accumulation. And so if you introduce a surplus, it simply means that you are not borrowing to pay your debt.
So you wanted a surplus of 0.5%, primary surplus?
Yes, then it means in rare times, you are reducing your debt by 0.5%.
Good.
Now, what we have seen is that instead of 0.5% of GDP, they've done surplus. They've done a deficit of 3.9% of GDP. So that tells you that they have deviated by 4.4% of GDP. Gargantuan. And how did we arrive at this? When I went in as a minister on the 23rd of January, my office was full of requests for payment.
When you got there on 23rd
of January,
there were people who had requested payments.
Waiting for payments. And I said, why should I start paying when I don't know the situation? So it was coming, kept coming from everywhere. And so I said, hang on a second. Let us write to all MDAs to bring the amount of money that are being owed. And so the MDAs supplied us with those information. I was surprised. They brought about 60-something billion cedis. So I said, okay, them sending it by email and posting it and bringing letters to the office, that's not validated. So I want to have a special hearing ahead of the budget hearing. So we started special hearings by inviting every sector minister together with chief directors to appear. Some ministries were not having.
So these are the outgoing, in a way, the old team?
Yes. No, the existing team.
The new team.
Some ministers were not having some ministries were not having ministers.
But the chief directors
came.
The
chief directors came.
Okay.
And so this data that I requested were largely supplied by the chief directors.
Good.
And so they brought all the information. And I said to them that, let me know the true situation so I can plan.
And you asked them to present essentially the monies that were due to be paid.
Due to be paid and contract that has been awarded.
Contracts awarded, the money is due.
And due. My money is due. And so, cumulatively, we found out this. We found out that the MDAs have awarded contract in excess of $195 billion.
Not cedis.
Billion cedis. 195 billion cedis.
MDAs?
Yes.
Contracts?
Contracts. MDAs are ministries, departments, and agencies.
195 billion cedis.
Billion cedis.
Okay.
Then aside that, the MDAs have generated certificates that are yet to be paid. And the certificates are in two kinds. Those that have gone through Ministry of Finance and been processed to the Controller and Accountant General, 18.2 billion cedis. Then another 49.6 or 5 billion cedis were certificates that are yet to be processed to the Controller and Accountant General's Department for Payment. So I was alarmed.
So that's like 67 billion.
67.5 billion cedis.
In
certificate contractors who have,
which means they performed the
job, and they expect the government of Ghana to pay them.
67 billion.
67 billion.
Do you have sectoral breakdown? Is this roads? Is this health?
I have sectoral breakdown.
For the 67?
The biggest one coming from the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Over 21 billion.
Okay.
From one ministry. And the rest were scattered. And I can share the data.
So about 2/5
statement. Yes. Coming from one ministry.
Roads Ministry.
Roads Ministry. And to my surprise, most of these contracts were awarded without authorization. Simple put, without commencement certificate. Because if you look at the PFM Act, the Public Financial Management Act, you will require authorization from the Ministry of Finance before you award those contracts. And these are debt that they have left behind for the next government to service.
Was there like a time frame within when these contracts were signed? Was it early in the administration? Was it in the first term? Was it in the last year? Have you done that analysis?
I have commissioned an audit, and the Auditor General is working with the Big Four to give us the dates, the levels, and the details to ascertain the eligibility and the validity, whether they are valid for us to pay. Or yes, we need to understand that. And so the audit is ongoing, and I've said that until the audit is done,
you not pay.
Completed.
So 67 billion cedis in what you can call arrears.
Yes.
And then 194 billion separate. These are contracts.
Yes, commitment.
They expect payment, but have works been done?
The
Do you know if works have been done?
Contracts that are in the pipeline. Some probably may have done the work, and they are yet to, when you finish the work, you have to wait for certain processes to go through before certificate will be issued. So they are not certificates yet. And some are work in progress, some are jobs that has been awarded, but the contractor is yet to complete. And I'm saying the audit will ascertain all of that.
Okay, so fair enough. So there are arrears, and then there are contracts which have sort of encumbered you.
Exactly.
But
that is not all.
Okay, there's more?
That's not all. This excludes debt at the statutory fund level.
Okay.
So you have road fund owing about 5.5 billion cedis.
Outside this MDA
Outside this MDAs. Because they are statutory funds, they are not just an MDA.
So road fund owes people 5.5 billion?
5.5 billion. Then you have the likes of Get Fund. You have the likes of, DACF.
This is Assembly Common Fund?
Yes, they have their own debt. I see. Then Cocoa Board, ECG. Cocoa Board owes 32 billion cedis.
Wow.
ECG owes 68 billion cedis.
They owe who?
They owe contractors.
Who have done work?
Who have done work.
So they should pay them, but that's not your business. If ECG owes them, are you ECG?
Well, in the program, in the IMF program, they classify Cocoa Board and ECG as part of central government.
But ECG and Cocoa Board say they can't pay?
ECG's situation, ECG's situation is so bad. It's so bad that they are supposed to collect the power that they consume. Unfortunately, they buy the power, they are supposed to sell the power to consumers like yourself, collect the money and pay. But the data we've seen so far, ECG collects like 1.5 billion, keep 500 million, and pay only 1 billion cedis.
Okay.
As a result, they are unable to pay IPPs. And as we speak, Government of Ghana, through ECG, owes IPPs $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion, not cedis. In fact, the amount is $1.730 billion. That's how much ECG is owing IPPs. So, coupled with the 1.730, they also owe suppliers another 68 billion cedis.
Hey,
what is going on here?
So let me get this straight. 67 billion in arrears, MDAs, 195 billion in contracts across various departments. ECG owes 68 billion cedis.
Correct.
Cocoa Board 32 billion.
32 billion.
Road Fund 5.7 billion.
5.7.
IPPs 1.7.
$1.730.
Okay, but that's fine.
Yes.
But usually when you talk about an economy is good or bad, I understand the issue of owing and cash flow, but there are other issues, right? So for example, your predecessor minister said he left you with $8 billion worth of gross reserves. And that when you left in 2016, you left with 6.7, but he's living with 8 billion. That's point number one. Point number two,
Can I address the point?
Oh, you want to take it one by one? Okay.
Yes. So first of all, he's talking of gross reserves.
Yeah.
So gross reserves, we use it to cover
imports.
What was currently the gross reserves covers how many months?
I think at the time it was 3.5 months.
So 3.5, the same as 2016.
So it's not the amount.
It's not the amount. It's because it's supposed to cover imports, and you know the import grows.
So you can't even use it to offset anything.
It's not. And it's only reserves. It's not like cash there.
Okay.
I heard the former president talk about reserves as if it's like some money sitting somewhere that somebody will have it and spend. No. It is a reserve at the central bank, and it is used as a cushion. A cushion for the country, for the central bank to be able to use it to support imports as and when the country needs it.
So second point, at the end of last year, when the IMF did their projection, they said Ghana's GDP was going to grow at 3.1%. This was in October, and that our debt to GDP will be 83%. When the government statistician presented his data yesterday, he said we grew at 5.7, which is much higher than what everybody projected. And as a consequence, if you calculate our debt to GDP, it has come down. I believe it's in the lower 70s, probably late 60s. So that's the second evidence that they're saying that if you say things are bad, how come we grew higher than was anticipated, and as a consequence, our debt to GDP has also come down?
Okay, so first of all, the debt to GDP has only come down not because of the work, something that the MPP has done or the previous administration did. The debt to GDP has dropped because last year, the government gave bondholders, Euro bondholders, 37% principal haircut. So the Euro bond at the time, if it was 10 billion cedis, 3.7 billion cedis were wiped out, completely wiped out last year. And the interest that had accumulated over the period, another 37% were also wiped out. And so I don't know whether they are celebrating the haircut they gave to some citizens. And remember, this haircut were not only given to foreigners. There are certain domestic banks that invested heavily in Ghana's Eurobond. There are certain Ghanaian individuals who, through their sweat, had accumulated so much resources and decided to invest in the Ghanaian economy. Instead of the government reducing expenditure, the government is saying, I'm passing on my burden to these individuals who have invested in my economy. And simple put, they decided to reduce their investment by 37%. So that is the reason why the debt to GDP had dropped. But, my brother, Bernard, look at the GDP very carefully and ascertain where the growth is coming from. It will surprise you to know that the growth that we've seen, the bulk of it is coming from mining. And going into mining, where is the growth coming from? Mining today is 50-50. 50% from Galamsey and 50% coming from the proper mining establishment as governed and regulated by the Minerals Commission. So they are only celebrating Galamsey. That's what they are celebrating. And this cannot be sustainable. It's not sustainable growth in the sense that your water bodies are being destroyed, your forests are being destroyed, and you are celebrating that growth. So if the growth is coming from the destruction of your water bodies and it's coming from the destruction of your forest and you are celebrating, then what kind of celebration is this? This is not something we should celebrate. We should rather be ashamed of ourselves if growth is coming from
So is that why for you, you are projecting only 4.4?
So I'm projecting at least 4.4. And the wording there is at least. It has always been my style. Under promise and over deliver. And so we under promise and we over deliver. And it helps in your estimation.
Okay.
And budget must be credible.
Let me give you okay, go on.
Okay.
I've given you two things. I've mentioned the reserves, you've dealt with that. I've given the GDP growth and debt to GDP ratio, you've dealt with that. The last point in terms of recovery, again, the IMF Managing Director, December 3, 2024. Your program performance generally satisfactory. Let me just read 3 paragraphs. IMF has praised Ghana for its strong performance under the fund program. This, it says, is attributable to the progress made in debt restructuring, economic recovery, and financial stability, which signals a positive outlook for the country's economic and business climate. Let me read 2 more. The IMF made this assessment after its executive board approved $360 million as the 4th disbursement to Ghana under the 3 billion ECF. And then the team commended Ghana's performance, citing progress in debt restructuring, economic recovery, fiscal and external improvement. So even IMF admit this is December 3.
Okay, so this is December 3rd, based on data from second quarter 2024. Data that were submitted because the assessment, the cutoff was in June. Are you also aware that subsequently, all the structural benchmarks, every single one of them, that are due to be assessed by the same IMF, has been missed by the same MPP administration? They've missed every single structural benchmark.
You mean the latest?
Yes, the one that they are about to assess next week, in 3 weeks.
How do you know? But they haven't done that.
No, but based on what I have. Every single one.
So
and
are you the one giving them the data?
No, it's the data that we'll give to them.
And on the basis of that?
On the basis of the data that we've seen.
What are these structural gains? Give me like 2.
Okay, so let me start with the primary balance, which is a key QPC. We were supposed to do 0.5% of GDP.
Surplus. Primary surplus.
The data that we've seen so far, they've done a deficit of 3.9% of GDP. And that is the primary anchor. That is the main anchor for the IMF program. You've missed it. Inflation. There is a monetary policy consultation clause in the IMF program. And we are supposed to do inflation. The inflation was supposed to be 15%. What is the outcome? 23.8. It has triggered a discussion under the IMF program with the IMF for us to have a conversation on the monetary policy. In fact, the 3rd major QPC that were missed had to do with social spending. We failed, even on social spending. So all the QPCs, the 3 main QPCs, were all missed. And the structural benchmarks, including bills that were supposed to send to Parliament, they missed all of them. So how can you say that IMF program is on track? But let me also add this. When we took office, based on all what we have seen, and based on the data before us, at the time, we all knew the IMF program was on track. But today, the program is not on track. We have inherited an energy sector that is on its nails. An energy sector that is throwing out a shortfall, annual shortfall, of in excess of $2 billion every single year that the state must look for money and finance. In the 2025 budget, I have provisioned 28 billion cedis. 28 billion cedis to support the energy sector. If we had failed to do that, the energy sector by end year would have seen difficulties, problems. And this is something we inherited. That is not the energy sector they inherited. But let me come in again. The problems we face as a country is not only the debt that they have left us, but it's also because of the repayment that we have to make. Remember, the MPP borrowed so much from the external bond market. Aside the borrowing, they failed to build buffers, both domestic resource, Ghana cedi buffers and dollar buffers to repay this debt. When we were leaving office in 2016, you left behind $319 million in the sinking fund and 430 million cedis in the cedi buffer account. They left $64,000 and 143 million Ghana cedis.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you. I have the bank statement.
Repeat that whole thing.
Okay, let me compare.
Repeat the whole thing. You said
when we were in office, And when President Mahama was leaving office in 2016, he left dollar amount for debt repayment, $319 million.
In the sinking fund?
In the sinking fund. They left behind $64,000. I repeat, $64,000 as against $319 million. Meanwhile, they had borrowed so much, but they failed to plan to pay. Why won't we develop? Why won't we default? Then another one. In the CD account, debt service reserve CD account, they, MPP, left behind 143,000 CD, 143 million CDs. We left $430 million CDs. 143 minus 430. Against 430.
Are they the only two accounts? And
these are the two accounts as buffers for the Republic of Ghana. These are the two accounts as buffers.
We need to take a break and think about this properly. When we come back, the next round of questions will focus on, okay, so if things are this bad, why are you promising so many things? You've already reduced taxes.
Now take you to the debt.
Oh, you haven't even finished?
No, I'm not done. I have to give you the details of the debt.
Me too, I have time. We'll come back. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Ochiame Kwame. I live at the plush Leisure Den Symphonic, a real estate property developed by Whaley Properties, the very developers of Vista Del Mare and the beautiful Alphabet City. So come with me to site. Let me introduce you to your new home, a gated community with 24-hour security in the heart of Sakumono. Behind me is going to be Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility. You are going to be greeted with a 4-bedroom ensuite home with an elevator, swimming pool, children's playground, constant electricity, and many more. But wait, it gets even more interesting for early birds like you. You get a whopping $50,000 discount. Yes, I said $50,000 if you purchase between now and the end of this month. So call us now or visit us. Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility.
So welcome back. I wanted to summarize for you what the minister has said about the economy he says he has inherited. And luckily, his team sent us a summary of some of the points he made in Parliament. So basically saying we are in deep crisis. And here are some of the numbers. It's basically saying that the IMF, IMF sort of benchmarks, he doesn't think we're going to meet them. We'll leave that for the IMF to come and do the assessment. But he has the data. But this is a summary of their numbers. 67 billion in terms of accumulated arrears or payables, of which 21 billion is in the road sector. And then the 67 billion is from these two, 49 plus 18. So 49 in what is called interim payment certificates for MDAs, and then outstanding BTAs of 18.7 billion. Then he talks about the IPP 1.7 billion, ECG 68 billion, Cocoa Board 32. By the way, is Cocoa Board coming back to the Finance Ministry?
Yes.
Okay. Because in NPP, we went to agree. So Cocoa Board is back in Finance Ministry. Well, wonderful. So 5.7 billion old road fund. So road alone, 5.7 plus 21 billion. So Kwame Abuja, you have a lot of work to do. This is an interesting one. Bank of Ghana is asking for a bailout of 53 billion. I don't understand this. Why should the Bank of Ghana ask for a bailout? What do
you know, the Bank of Ghana has a negative equity as we speak under the previous administration. They have a negative equity of 55 billion. And so their balance sheet is such that they will need government to bail them out with some money so that they'll be able to move from negative equity to a positive equity.
Why do they need equity? They are the Bank of Ghana.
They are the Bank of Ghana.
They are sovereign republic. They should just find money.
Why are they going to find it? It must be capitalized by the owners. If they print, it becomes inflation.
You should why? You know what do you mean? If the Americans don't have money, don't they just change their numbers?
Yes, why can't and they're asking the government to give them 53 billion. In fact, it's an MOU that was signed by the previous administration with the Bank of Ghana that the Ministry of Finance will look for 53 billion cedis and give it to Bank of Ghana.
But hold on. If somebody has worked for the government and the central bank prints money to pay them, how is that inflationary?
It's inflationary because you are injecting excess liquidity into the market.
But that's not excess. This
excess.
is earned income. The person has done a job.
Where has the person?
He has built a road.
But Bank of Ghana does not generate revenue. They don't.
Did they import any of the things they used to do the project?
So Bank of Ghana, if they print, they're only lending the money to the government of Ghana. Maybe next time
we may have time to go into that. Because if somebody has done job for you, just give the person his money.
No, it doesn't work like that way. It will cause overheating in the economy.
The economy is already cold, so we need heat. We don't need it. I don't know what you're saying. Now, you are painting, my problem with you is you are painting a very negative, gloomy picture of the economy.
I'm not painting a negative picture. I'm telling you what it is.
No
what
problem.
The situation
but also is that, so, and you have said that beyond all this, there are also external debts that have to be paid, a lot of which are due in
2027 and 2028 is where the humps are. And that's what it is.
Where am I?
Yeah, that's where you are, yeah.
This one?
Yep.
External debt service, 8.7 billion.
So let me put it this way. What we have currently is we have treasury bills. In total, we inherited treasury bills of 111.1 billion cedis. And these treasury bills will have to be rolled over week in, week out. Week in, week out. Because, again, we do not have buffers, unless you build your own buffers to repay those 111.1 billion. Aside that, we have domestic bonds that we inherited, the ones that were restructured. In the next 4 years put together, we have to repay 150 billion cedis. And if you go back, one slide back, these are the details. You see, you have 150 billion cedis. The next line, for the next for that one. Yeah, so you see, yes, 150.3 billion cedis, of which 2027 alone, you have to repay debt 57.6 billion Ghana cedis. And 2028, you have to repay 52.5 billion Ghana cedis. These are humps that has been created by this administration.
Is this your contention that this is deliberate, or is just a consequence of the time of handing over?
Maybe I'll put it this way. I think it's an attempt to kick the can down the lane for someone to inherit it. You see,
as you thought they didn't know they were going to lose?
Well, it was clearly you can. I won't structure my debt this way, even if I had defaulted. I won't structure my debt this way to create some harms that are so cancerous that can kill. No one does that. And so we have to take immediate measures to refinance these harms and smoothen these harms.
So short-term debts you are supposed to pay, and also your external debts are also due.
And you have $8.7 billion.
And this is an election year.
That you have to pay. And again, you have approximately $5 billion that you have to repay between 2027 and 2028.
So have you been able to put everything together in terms of what you are supposed to pay, in terms of arrears, certificates due? We are not even talking about like external debt, just domestically.
It scares me. I don't like to.
You don't want to know the full number?
I don't want to, because I know, but I just don't want to add it to my headache. But what I want to say is that Touchwood will fix this.
You fix.
We have what
let me come back. So this is my concern now. You have painted. You say this is the real picture. So how on earth are you now removing taxes and promising all kinds of things? I've looked at your what do you call it? Your revenue initiatives, and you've basically said you will scrap about 4 taxes. You will redo the VAT. And when you redo the VAT, you even remove the COVID as well. And by the way, when you put all that together, how much is that going to cost you?
Okay, so the taxes we have identified for removal will give us a loss of about 2.3 billion cedis.
2.3 billion cedis.
2.3 billion cedis.
Oh, okay.
Of this 2.3 billion cedis, COVID alone is about the e-levy alone is about 1.9 billion cedis.
Okay.
You have 180 million coming from the betting tax, and the rest small amount put together. What we have said is simple. We needed to close this gap, and we have found a way to close it nicely. The previous administration, in all honesty, abused the tax refund system. And what we've seen is that
the tax refund, as in the amount of money you are supposed to put down
in an account
to deal with people who
overpay
need
their
tax
tax.
refund.
Yes, overpay their
what
tax.
What percentage of GDP is that?
The
or
law,
revenue is that?
The Revenue Administration Act prescribes 6%, minimum of 6%.
6% of revenues
yes,
are to be
supposed to be reserved
for tax refund
purposes. And in the last 8 years, almost 30 billion cedis, 29.1 billion has been accumulated into that account. And so all what we did was simple. We looked at every year and accumulated, and then look at the last 8 years, how much has been accumulated into that account and how that funds has been used.
Okay.
To our surprise, only 43% of the 29 billion was used for the tax refund. And that tells us straight away that the tax refund account does not need
that 6%.
That's 6%. But I could go as low as 3%. But also to stay on the side of caution, we decided to take 2% out and then keep 4%.
And how much would that give you?
And the 2% alone is giving us 3.8 billion cedis.
So that can cater for the 2.3 billion?
It's enough to cater for the 2.3 billion and still have 1.5 billion cedis left. And that 1.5 billion, the remaining 1.5 billion is enough for me to increase capitation grant, enough for me to increase school feeding, enough for me to introduce no fee stress for first year students, and enough to buy textbooks for primary education. And so you could see that it is not rocket science. It's about love for your people.
You're saying that the law said that 6% of revenues should be kept in an account for tax refund.
Yes, exactly.
In the 8 years of MPP, they spent about 40, they only refunded 42% of that.
Exactly.
So there was about 50-something% of that money they could have done anything with.
Simple put, 16 billion cedis. What? Misapplied, simply misapplied.
What do you mean misapplied?
Misapplied, they didn't use it for the purpose.
Oh, they didn't use it for tax refund?
Yes.
But they use it for the country?
They use it for what country? They use it for expenditures that are so frivolous, expenditures that I won't pay. It was used like a slush fund. In the coming days, we'll go into
Is there a record of what they use it for?
Yes.
Because you also want to use it to do other things.
I just don't want to. No, I'm supposed, the law, the Revenue Administration Act prescribed what you can use the tax refund account for. And you cannot use it for anything else. Anything else. In the coming days, I'll give you the details of what they use the tax refund account for. I just don't want it to crowd the budget, and that's why I've been careful.
So you're saying that the tax reliefs you've given, just by readjusting this tax refund account, you can get money to pay for the relief?
Exactly.
Good. But what we need is beyond that amount.
Yes.
Because if it even accrued 30 billion, the thing you just showed me here, you need trillions of cedis.
Oh, no, I don't need
trillions. You don't need trillions?
The budget's not trillion.
Well, the economy is worth 1.3 trillion.
Let me show you, but that doesn't mean you need
fair enough, but you said a lot of things, 67, 190, whatever.
No, in terms of the debt that you need.
Okay.
You are not paying everything this year.
Okay.
In the 67 billion arrears, we've provisioned to pay 13 billion. 13 billion.
Of the 67?
Of the 67.
Okay.
Okay, that 13 billion, one way or the other, you have to pay after validating. So in the budget, you see arrest votes, and we have created 13 billion cedis, and we'll provision to pay this over time.
The 194 contractors?
194 contractors are those who have to work and bring.
So some of that has not been done yet?
It hasn't been done yet. And so we will have to validate for us to be able to know those who have done those work and those who have not done work at all. I want to use this medium to guide them. Then make sure you have commencement certificate. Because if you don't have commencement certificate and you do the work and you expect us to pay, don't think out of
So even if I can show you the road, I don't have convincing because I've done the route.
It's on authorized commitment. And
so you pay me?
It doesn't.
You are wild, though. So if they don't go through the right process, you will not pay.
Yes, that's what it is. You have to go through the right
so
process.
So you pay 13 out of the 67. The 150, you will be sure they have commencement certificate, and you check where they've commenced.
Exactly.
If they are close to finishing, they should finish.
They should finish.
But if they've not started, they shouldn't start.
Exactly.
What about the road fund 5.7 billion? Will you pay?
Road fund, what I've done for Ghana Road Fund is to uncap the allocations that goes through Ghana Road Fund. We have, as a result, allocated 2.81 billion cedis to the Ghana Road Fund. Remember?
So that clears about half of it.
Yeah. So they
will all of that too go into arrears payment or for new projects?
No. The uncapped amount, which is about 1.1 billion, we expect that they use that for the purposes of road maintenance only.
Road maintenance only. Do we know how much road tolls will bring? Estimate?
Not yet. The Ministry of Roads and Highways is doing some estimations. And I'm sure they'll be able to come out with
IPP's 1.7, will you pay?
Yes, IPPs.
The 1.7 billion, will you pay?
Oh, the IPP's 1.7 billion, we have to pay.
You have to pay?
We have to pay, and we have to find the money.
The ECG 68 billion, who is paying?
ECG must find a way and pay themselves.
Cocobot 32 billion, who is
paying? They have to pay themselves.
But you are their supervisor now. Cocobot is now under you.
But it doesn't mean we should take their debt.
So Randiabi must find money to pay?
He has to.
Okay.
That is what, unfortunately, the former administration left for him.
Let's just continue the logic. So you've said that you will save some money through the tax refund. You've removed the caps from the statutory funds. That's all well and good. But I still see that for every major item, your allocation for this year is more than last year.
Yep.
Road fund, 15%, yes. 155% more. School feeding program, 33% more. Capitation grant, 73% more.
Correct.
LEAP program, 30% more. Are you saying all these things are coming from the extra money from the tax refund?
Nope. The school feeding, the capitation, and the LEAP coming from the tax refund. The road fund, in the past, and I'm sure you may have paid attention to this, there has been a major policy shift. I recall in 2017, the MPP administration came to Parliament and introduced what we call the Capping and Realignment Act. The intention was, at the time, centralize every government payment.
Okay.
Take it from the statutory funds and centralize it and pay from the center. The reverse is what we have done. We believe in decentralization. So what we have done is that instead of the past, where they cap the key statutory funds, Ghana Education Trust Fund, National Health Insurance, and the Ghana Road Fund, they were capping it and spending from the center. We are saying no. Road Fund, take your money. There is a reason why the ordinary Ghanaian is paying a levy for a liter of petrol for you to maintain the roads. So take the money and use the money for the purposes of maintaining our roads. That is your mandate, and ensure that you do it. And you have a sector minister. The minister will be encouraged to ensure that that thing is done and done well. That's what we've done. Number two, Get Fund. You have the free senior high school. And the free senior high school, we all know the problems with the free senior high school. To date, we've not been able to find a dedicated source of funding for the free senior high school. What we did was simple. We felt that by uncapping the Ghana Education Trust Fund levies alone, you will get 4.5 billion cedis additional resources.
Free SHS needs
3.5.
But uncapping the Get Fund, you will get
4.1.
So that covers the 3.5.
That covers the 3.5.
And leaves some surplus.
And going forward, we are going to go to Parliament to amend the Ghana Education Trust Fund Act to make free SHS or free secondary education part of their mandate, so they will be the ones to ensure that payment is done and school children are paid.
Wouldn't that affect the original purpose of Get Fund, which I believe is infrastructure?
So first, let me put it this way once again. You know, the Ghana Education Trust Fund, under President Akufo-Addo and the MPP, they had capped it, and that money wasn't going to them anyway. And aside the fact that the money wasn't going to them, they had gone to borrow the Ache bond, you remember? And they've gone to use the receivables as a collateral.
Yes.
And so at a point, GetFund was using 55% to its revenues to service that debt.
The Ache bond.
Again, what we did was we absorbed the debt and freed them from that resources. And GetFund, as we speak, is now free to the extent that all the receivables going to them, they don't have a debt obligation. So what we have restored, they will use it for free senior high school and there will be surplus. And what they have, or they will always have, they were in the past encumbered. We've removed the encumbrance and we have allowed Ghana Education Trust Fund to have given them the opportunity to use that to be able to start building school infrastructure in both tertiary, secondary, and basic education. And as part of the strategy, we've asked them to continue the e-blocks that in the past we started but was abandoned in between.
That sounds interesting. So is this why you said you will not give sectoral performance and outlook? You will leave that to the
sector ministers.
But you will do like the heavy lifting in terms of changing the laws and things so that their fiscal space is open.
Exactly.
Then they can all come and address that.
So my job as a Minister for Finance is to broadly deal with the macro fiscal and high-ticket government policies that affect all sector and the economy of Ghana. And the sector ministers focus on sector specific.
You said that you have the DACF was over-centralized.
Correct.
And therefore you're going to allow 80% of that money at least to go back to the district assembly.
Correct.
Does that mean you are going to encourage the assemblies to also pursue things like municipal bonds?
Okay. I don't want to start municipal bond conversation because Ghana, we've not done well in managing our bonds, in our debt. Even the central government defaulted.
Yeah, but since you are decentralizing their payments, and there are some large assemblies like Accra and Kumasi.
But if even the central government defaulted in the payment of a debt, I don't think, it's a wonderful idea. In fact, we wanted to do it, but I've had a second thought about it. I don't think they are ready enough to be able to go out there and borrow, and it becomes, and be able to pay. Some may be able to pay, but not all of them are in a position to go through municipal or district bonds. But on a more interesting note, we believe that the district assembly, particularly the district assembly common fund, must only act as an administrator who receives and allocates the resources. The administrator's office should not be the place where contracts are awarded and sent to the district. The main reason why the district assembly common fund was created as part of the 1992 constitution was to encourage decentralization.
So you shouldn't be creative. You shouldn't go and sign any contract.
Just not at all. That is not a mandate of
Look
the
at the law
common fund.
and
just
release the money.
Release the money. In fact, the law allows them to keep 2% reserve funds only. Only 2% reserve funds. And it is not in their business to be awarding contract and be sending to the center. So what we have said, that a minimum of 80%, and the key word is a minimum of 80%. A minimum because we recognize that the previous administration may have awarded some contracts at the center and they have to settle them. And so regardless, 80% must go to the district to spur economic growth. I'm an MP, and MPs will tell you what the district goes through. And my constituency, for example, if the district assembly is to receive resources, you can see the economy and the district capital and how the way is booming. So we believe that money.
I'm still trying to find out where you get the money from. You've explained the the tax refund.
Yes.
You've explained the uncapping.
Yes.
But T-bill seems to be the main business in town.
Correct.
I heard you in January say that you didn't think it was a sustainable way of going.
Correct.
And then I heard you also say that, by the way, in the past 2 months, the rates have come down. So in a sense, you're saying that you are you are reducing your dependence on T-bills. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Let me put it this way. We inherited a T-bill stock of 111.1 billion cedis. This must be rolled over week in, week out.
Yeah.
coupled with your budget financing needs. So if you have a net financing, net domestic financing requirement, for example, of 1 million cedis every month, then it means if you have to roll over 9 million, you have to add 9 billion to 1 billion to the 9 billion so that you can borrow for that week. What we've done is simple. We have reduced the PSBR, the public sector borrowing requirement. And if you reduce the public sector borrowing requirement, what happens is that your activities in the market are not so deep, and so you can cut the rate as and when, depending on the rate that you want to cut. Over the period, we have also built buffers. Buffers because we were actually not necessarily overspending. And so if you are not spending and you have raised resources, you can intervene using your own resources to buy back some of the bonds as and when you decide based on your strategy. So you could see that we inherited a 91-day treasury bill from 28.9%. We have successfully reduced that to 17.99%.
Yeah.
So that represents in excess of 1,000 basis point reduction, or 10%. We've also reduced the 182-day treasury bill from 29% again to 19%.
And this is on the basis of your pulling back?
Yes, pulling back.
And also rejecting...
And our debt management strategy.
Fair enough. There are two questions on T-bills.
Yes.
Number one, the governor said at the Economic Forum that even though it's good to have lower T-bill rates, if they keep falling very low, it could affect the currency stability. I think I was there when he said that.
Yes.
That's point number one. Point number two, in opposition, you were concerned about the way government borrowed and even entered the domestic bond market without parliamentary approval.
Correct.
There are some people who believe that T-bills must also be brought to parliament for approval,
okay,
so that they will be properly oversighted.
Okay.
In fact, somebody has taken that matter to the court as well. So two questions. The falling of the T-bill rates could affect the currency, according to governor.
Yes.
And number two, would you agree that T-bill forays and all domestic debt securities should have a proper parliamentary oversight?
So let me start with the governor's comment, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, the governor expresses concern that if, for example, someone is looking out for a certain rate and he doesn't get it, and the person believes that if he invests in dollars, the dollar is going to appreciate against the cedi. But I don't think so. I don't think so in the sense that I have faith in the cedi. I believe strongly that the cedi will do well, and I do not believe that the cedi will go down the way others think. Based on the consolidation that we are doing, the fiscal consolidation effort that we are putting in place will mean that the cedi is going to be stable. And so if you are to rush and buy cedi, you may end up burning your hands. And so that is the kind of assurance I want to give to the people of Ghana. That based on the work that we've done so far, I have a lot of confidence in the cedi. And I believe that even by bringing on board the Ghana Gold Board, and we have estimated that the Ghana Gold Board can buy 3 tons of gold every week. And 3 tons of gold every week will give you $280 million. And if $280 million is to come into the economy week in, week out, it will give you in excess of $10 billion within the year. And so you could see that there will be enough dollars in the market to support the cedi, and reserves will grow. And the central bank will be able to intervene as and when they have to be able to intervene. And so it's not just talk or just
So numbers. You don't expect the reduction in T-bill rates to affect the currency to the extent that you are hoping that Ghanaians will not, or investors will not rush to the dollar?
No. I don't envisage that option at all. Then back to your second point. Your second point has to do with
T-bills and other domestic debt securities. Bring them to Parliament according to Article 181.
So if you look at the budget statement and economic policy carefully, you have financing, as part of the fiscal table, the document that goes to Parliament for approval. So you prepare your budget. And when you prepare your budget, you throw out deficit, and you show how you are going to finance the deficit. If I'm throwing out overall surplus, okay, I will not need to do any major finance. Maybe I'll do rover and all of that. So the budget, for example, throws out the deficit, and you may have to finance in it. In the document, you show Parliament where you are financing this from. So you finance from domestic, and you have to tell Parliament which type of domestic you are going to finance. And you go to the Finance Committee to make a strong case, defend it. I've seen this, I've lived this in the last 17 years. And so when you defend, when you go to Parliament, as has been done over the whole period, then a question will be put. They will bring a motion to the House, to the floor, for government to adopt the budget statement, the appropriations bill, and then its subsequent finance.
So isn't that the overall strategy for borrowing? But if for T-bills, there are certain rates that you may need Parliament to tell you that at this rate we should say yes or no. So I understand that the overall debt management strategy may be brought in.
Yes.
But T-bills are tactical, is yearly. And as you even said, some of this is weekly rollovers. Yes. It's not the same as I'm going to...
But you issue T-bills every week. Will you be able to... So the way the auction is done, the auction process ends, let's say, on a Friday afternoon, and the decision must be taken before 4 o'clock. At what point are you going to go to Parliament? And it means Parliament must sit every Friday, and they have to be there.
Maybe the Finance Committee can give you a window per month or quarter or something.
Well.
So because you're a Finance Committee guy, you've been there for 8 years.
I've been there and more than.
I believe that, or I not necessarily, but if you had a way of influencing what the predecessor government did, you may not have agreed to all the borrowings they borrowed if you had a say.
So maybe I have not seen any country where T-bill or short-end markets has to go through parliamentary approvals before it's done. I've never seen one. What I've seen in some countries, even in Nigeria, South Africa, some sub-Saharan African countries have done is to separate the Ministry of Finance from Debt Management Office. So they created an independent Debt Management Office. And they go to Parliament, they are clothed with some powers. And they will be the ones, they won't only rely on the Ministry of Finance, and they don't, based on the minister's instruction, because the minister wants some financing done. So you have the independent Debt Management Office that oversees the issuance of bonds and treasury bills, and they decide the cut-off point and that. So they can perform that role, but not necessarily Parliament. Because Parliament, sometimes we work 26 weeks out of 52. Sometimes 28
the practicality.
Weeks. So what happens?
So the principle may not be wrong, the practicality.
Yes.
I'll take another break. When I come back, I'm just going to read your comments. And I need to say to you, there's a lot of questions for you. So what we'll do is, we'll do it like a quick. One question, one answer. Hopefully 1 minute per answer. Because a lot of you are, and by the way, we are live as well. We're going till 10:30. My guest is Ato Forson. He is the Minister of Finance. And he says he will fix it. That's his basic message. Stay with us.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. So let me read some comments for the minister. Great interview so far. What are his plans for raising government revenues? Number 1. 2, are there any plans to review any parts of the DDEP program? I think that's an important question. The question 2. Any plans to review any part of the DDEP program? Yvonne Aku Asempa, good evening. Bernard, ask Honorable if there will be posting of nurses and midwives and other allied health professionals this year, because some of us have been suffering after 5 years of completing school. Kofi Akoto, Honorable Finance Minister, are you saying an individual like Adapa's account is more than that of government of Ghana? Well, he did not say that. Benjamin Akodele, is there a freeze on employment in the public service as it is being claimed in the budget statement? All right, that's a question that's coming. Can Bernard ask the finance minister about venture capital trust fund and how they fit into the budget? Some businesses depend deeply on it. Another one. Bernard, negotiations was made and an agreement signed concerning utility allowance for all senior staff of universities last year, October, for payment to begin in November. We want to know if it is captured or has been captured. And will this be paid? Keep me anonymous for security reasons. So many questions. Let's group them. Would you do anything about... do you have any space to do anything about DDEP?
I think you cannot.
You cannot?
You cannot. You cannot for a simple reason. In the debt restructuring agreement, there is a clause called comparability treatment clause. What this simple means is that all the debt that you hold, apart from multilateral debt that are not restructurable, you should treat all of them the same in the debt.
So if you change one, you have to change everything.
If you change one, the bilaterals will ask for their share. If you change one, there is a clause that will trigger. It's called clawback clauses. The clawback clause is that if you change one, all the gains you made, like you heard the MPP celebrating that debt to GDP has come down because of haircut. Immediately, all the people that you gave them the haircut, they are going to get their hair back.
But can't you say that domestic domestic issues are different because of its effect on the macroeconomy in a different way?
And so in the beginning, you should have excluded it as part of the debt restructuring. But since you included the domestic debt as part of the debt restructuring, then the issue of comparability clause, treatment clause triggers. And so you have to treat all of them the same. So unfortunately, based on what has been done, you can't go back to that.
That's rather troubling. Why did you restore nursing and teacher training allowance? Some things is politics, because this it was considered a populist policy by Baumia, by some of the NDC people, and you've maintained it.
Oh, but
you've allocated 400 for nurses training allowance, 200.
During the campaign, we never said we were going to abolish it.
But should you be paying these people these monies when you are in a situation that you just described here?
I think even if you are going to decide not to pay them, you can't do it abruptly, because some of the students may have gone to school with the hope that that was going to happen. And so the policy decision has not changed. And if the policy decision has not changed, you have to make provision to pay. And that is exactly what we've done. In the medium term, you can have a conversation around it, but you can't just wake up one day because a new government has come and decide that you are not going to pay that. It will be unfair to the students.
Is there a freeze on employment in the public service?
There is no freeze on employment.
Okay. Ebo wants me to ask you why you can't ban cash payments in all government sectors. Because if you digitize all payments, no more petty cash, no more funny allowances, reduce corruption.
I perfectly agree with him. It will have to take some time. There should be an incentive for cash-light economy. There should be an incentive for people to be able to pay their money through Momo, not punitive like in the past we used to, like we have the e-levy that we are going to remove. So currently as it stands, if you were to pay your bill via the electronic means like Momo, government of Ghana punishes you for paying that as against paying cash. And it's one of the reasons why we believe that the e-levy must go. And we have announced that. And God willing, I've just seen the bill for the removal of the e-levy done this evening. So tomorrow morning I'll be laying it in Parliament. And I expect that Parliament will take it under certificate of urgency. And if Parliament is able to do that, e-levy will be gone.
Have you laid one for the betting tax?
Yeah, I'm laying all of them tomorrow.
But did you make a mistake in the way you described the withholding tax on lottery winnings as betting tax? It led to some confusion.
Yes. The NDC prepared a manifesto. And we prepared a manifesto and signed a social contract with the people of Ghana and said that in 100 days, 120 days in office, we are going to remove the 10% withholding tax on bet winnings. Simple put, the betting tax is a tax that when you stake betting and you win, a percentage is deducted, 10% from your winnings. What we are saying we're going to do is to remove that tax. But I heard some of them saying that, what about the betting companies and their corporate income tax?
Okay.
Even your company, you pay corporate income tax.
We do.
Everybody else pays corporate income tax. But what we are talking about is the tax on individual winnings.
That's what you are going to remove.
That's what we are removing. So we are removing the one that the incidence
falls on the individual.
On the individual.
But the
incidence on the betting company, like any other company, you have to pay corporate income tax if you make profit. That's what it is.
Your predecessor says the emissions tax was never collected.
Oh, I thought he said the betting tax was never collected.
He said that too.
Mm-hmm. So it's not true that the betting tax was never corrected. They corrected the
that we know.
Tax. Yes, it started sometimes in 2023, August. I checked this
morning.
What
about the emissions tax?
The emission tax, they had planned to collect it. And the emission tax is in our books as a tax. And the GRA had planned. In fact, they started collecting the emission tax and they withdrew it because of the elections. We had promised the people of Ghana that if we are to win, we will withdraw the emission tax. As long as the tax remains in the books of the Republic of Ghana as a tax,
you will remove it.
You have to remove it. If you fail to remove it, it's still a tax, and someone can implement that tax. And so we are removing it.
You
can see that we have not costed that one.
So you say you also abolished the VAT on motor vehicle insurance policy.
Correct.
Have you put the amendments before Parliament?
Oh yes, there are other amendments are going to Parliament.
This week?
Yes, this week. But I'm going to start from tomorrow.
So let's be clear. Betting, the law, the amendment will go today or tomorrow?
Will go tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Today is gone, yeah.
E-levy tomorrow.
I expect to do the e-levy, the betting, the emission, all of them tomorrow.
VAT on motor vehicle insurance?
All of them tomorrow.
Withholding on winning of unprocessed gold?
Exactly.
What about COVID?
COVID levy, I think I explained that. I explained that and said that we see the entire VAT regime as a tax that has been distorted. And it will require a comprehensive review.
All right.
And if you are to only pick the rate and remove it, you are not solving the problem. And the problem will be that you need to look at the entire VAT space and reform it. We have requested for technical assistance from the IMF, and we are also setting up a task force. And the task force is supposed to work with a technical assistance report and be able to advise. And we've given them
your preference is that
we will remove that by the end of the year and we'll reform the entire value-added tax system. And we believe that it requires some good reforms.
So in that reform will mean that we will not have a sales and ad valorem together.
Exactly. Just like we have today. I have never seen a country where we operate both sales tax and ad valorem tax at the same time. No one does that. You choose one of the two.
Will that include a reduction of the basic VAT? Because VAT is 15, NHL is 2.5. Get Fund is 2.5, before the COVID is 1.
Yes.
So in that thing you are proposing for the IMF to do, are you also saying then that you are reducing the basic 15?
Okay, so what matters most is the effective VAT rate. So you have the statutory rate, 15 2.5, and 1, giving you 21.
21.9.
No, 21
yes.
for statutory
Yes,
rate.
yes.
But because of the cascading,
that's why
because of the levies, it becomes 21.9.
Good.
So the effective rate is what matters in the VAT computation. Our work is simple. We intend to reduce the effective VAT rate. If you stop the cascading and allow all of them to be charged as a rate, then remove the
and then remove the COVID too.
And remove the COVID too, so the effective rate will come down. And that's some of the things we
But from the way I see it, probably reach like 18.
Well, let's see. Based on
anyway,
the work.
Bernard, please extend our appreciation to the Minister for the uncapping of the NHIS fund. However, can he explain whether the Mahama Cares and Free Primary Care is going to share the same 9.9 billion allocated to NHIS?
10 billion.
Yes.
So
are they going to share that money with NHIS people?
Okay, let me take you through this.
And this is Baba, National Executive Council member of the Private Health Facilities Association. So he's laid his cards on the table.
Yeah,
so explain.
So first of all, the National Health Insurance levy was capped since 2017. And the problems we've seen, and I shared this as part of the National Economic Dialogue, and I said that the problem with the National Health Insurance is that, one, the government has capped, and two, we've seen some inefficiencies in the way they spend their money. When the scheme started, 86% of the total amount were going to claims. Today, it has declined all the way to 57%. So the problem is not only the rate, but what we are saying is that the National Health Insurance Authority must begin the process to outlaw some of their non-core activities, to increase their claim payment to a minimum of 75%, just like we have done for the District Assembly Common Fund. And in the coming days, the minister responsible for health will be addressing Parliament as part of the new budget format. And he's going to address all of these concerns. In fact, the additional 4-point-something billion that we have given to National Health Insurance, we're not there. We are saying two things are going to happen to the National Health Insurance. First, reduce the non-core activities and give more money for claim payment and resolve the issues that Baba.
So basically, like Cocoa Body, you are saying no more Cocoa roads.
No more Cocoa roads.
So everybody should focus on their core business.
Focus on your core business, because it is the responsibility of the minister responsible for road and the Ministry of Roads to construct roads.
So you agree with that recommendation from the Economic Forum?
Exactly. And in the coming days, you see some.
Let me read more comments before you go. William, this is the first time I've heard a finance minister explain economic issues devoid of jargon. Kudos to him. So after our economics was not rocket science. That's Willie. Professor, I won't mention the full name. Bernard, very disturbing but illuminating interview. I wish the young man well. His heart is in the right place. May God help Ghana. So that's from a professor watching. Please, I'm watching from Senegal, Dakar. Ask the minister, when is the DDEP ending? And what are the plans to begin servicing the country's debt? Chris?
We are servicing our debt.
DDP, will it end?
The DDP has ended. The restructuring is over, and we are servicing our debt. And we will service every debt to the penny, and we will pay on time.
Bernard, ask him, it's very urgent. Will there be any hope for security forces recruitment this year? Number two, ask the minister. The EC is blaming the finance ministry for the delay of payment of temporary officers. Can he explain why the money has not been released? Ekuban in Konongo. Is this true?
I just came to office. I've been at the Ministry of Finance for 5 weeks. And over the last 5 weeks, my preoccupation has been to look at the budget and write a budget and look at policies that will change the fortunes of our country for the better. And that's what I've been concentrating on. If there are issues relating to non-payment, I will address them as soon as the budget is passed by Parliament.
Can you ask the minister about the fate of those of us who have our funds locked up or investments locked up in Gold Coast Financial Fund Management? Charlie, people want you to answer all the questions in Ghana. There's a lot of questions. I have a very interesting question for you.
Thank you.
Before you go. As the minister, after all his figures and economic planning, what does he do for fun? This is from Nana Kwesi Akwa. Wakwe. He said you are too serious.
I sleep a lot when
sleep
I'm free.
A lot.
Yes, I sleep when I'm free.
So is it the work that's affecting your hair, or your hair has always been like that? Because you haven't spent only even 2 months in the work and your hair is finished.
No, my hair has always been like this.
You prefer it like this?
I lost my hair when I was 22 years. That's always been like that.
Why? Was it accounting? Was it a charter accounting?
No. It has always been like that. I think it's genetics. I inherited it.
But you chartered?
Yes, I am.
Accounting is tough,
It's like any normal course.
But it's funny because you're a tax man, and tax people like you and Setekwe, people say it's not. You like tax too much.
Oh, no, really. I mean, look at this budget. We have not imposed much taxes.
Are you not giving us false hope so that next year when you start raising the taxes again?
You see, you tax sectors that are doing well. And if you watch this budget carefully, this is a budget that you can simply call it a people-centered budget. It's a budget for the people. We touch lives. We touch the vulnerable in particular. And the budget was done in such a way that you want the key social sectors of the economy to grow. And then you largely recognize that in the last few years, the average Ghanaian has suffered so much, from hyperinflation to high cedi depreciation to a situation where people have lost so much of their money. And all put together, the adjustment that has happened in the last few years is so much that the ordinary Ghanaian is suffering. And so what we did is to find a way to ensure that the average, the vulnerable, is protected during difficult times like this. And that's what we've done. At the same time, we have reduced expenditure and cut waste. And by cutting waste, we are reducing government expenditure in a way that will not borrow more, targeting stability and growth. So the growth is going to come from productive sectors of the economy, and I'm hopeful.
Two final questions.
Though we've done our projection is at least 4%. We may be better.
On radio, some people said, when your brother is on a mango tree, you don't eat mango bunu. So Central Region people say their roads, you have to do something about it, because the Accra Cape Coast Road is being done, but there are many roads in the Central Region, even including your hometown, which are in a very bad state.
Yep.
Have you heard them? Can you do something?
Bernard,
can you do anything about those roads?
Bernard, I am an MP.
Okay.
I represent the good people of Edrumakwenye and Isiam. I've been representing them since 2009. This is my 17th year representing my constituents. I know their needs. The country is also in trouble, and we are fixing that. It is my responsibility to marry the needs of my constituents and the needs of the people of Ghana. I will do it, and I'll do both, and I'll do it well.
How do you intend to stop the overbloating and inflation of government projects, which is one of the main challenges of corruption?
We are going to establish an independent office for value for money.
In Parliament or in the ministry?
No, it's going to be an independent office. We will send a bill to Parliament for approval and passage. And His Excellency the President wants this established as soon as possible. So we are working on the framework. And when that happens, Parliament will set a ceiling where every government project up to that ceiling will have to go through value for money audit. Currently, the deficiency is in sole sourcing only. But an office for value for money will not only limit it to sole sourcing, but selective tendering and even some competitive tendering. You have to pass value for money audit. And so we are still working around it. It's been done in the United Kingdom, where the current government, the Labour Party, who are also in opposition, promised, again, an office for value for money. We are studying their structure, and we hope to do even better. So
when you read the budget, a lot of people said this was one of the few times they understood the budget, and the positive reactions were there. we've heard Guta and Co say the budget was okay. But the minority leader said it was an Azar budget. Were you surprised?
I've been a minority leader before, and I can understand his work. So let's allow him to do his work.
And he said, hey, Ato, is this still your friend to describe your budget as an Azar budget? Somebody who we thought was, I don't know, he's from a neighbor, his constituency is not far from yours.
No, 2 constituencies apart. Kwamna is...
and you're both Kwame now?
He is my former friend.
He's your former friend?
He's my former friend. Now he's my brother.
And yet say your budget is Azar?
Well, let's say he's doing his work, and I respect that.
Do you understand his approach as minority leader?
I do. I recognize the pressure he's going through. His party has just lost an election, and their number in Parliament has reduced from 138 to 87. And we've reduced them yesterday. The majority leader said we've now reduced them to Osonon Kitinkiti. and you know, they are in a position of ensuring that at least the Osonon Kitinkiti
as against Akukon Kitinkiti.
So now they are Osonon Kitinkiti. So you can understand. I can understand his frustration. He has to do his job. The expectation is so high on him. His party, currently, as we speak, he's the main voice for his party. And so he has to do his job. And I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. So your message to Ghanaians is that you can do the job? My
message to the Republic of the good people of Ghana is that His Excellency the President means well. And John Mahama will fix the situation. And we will assist him to fix what he has inherited. Though bad, but there's hope. We'll fix it.
May God help us all.
Thank you.
Ato Forson, MP for Ejuma Kwenyane, Minister of Finance. He said he lost his hair at 22. So it's not your work that's taking his hair. May our work not take our hair. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for watching. Stay with Channel 1 Television. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.